we're worried about today. We got to win today. We always say you worry about today, you got to protect tomorrow. But in this case, the way we're set up, we know we have Slavin, we know we have Burns, we know we have Orlov next year.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah. So, our goal remains again to sign all the players, and we continue to talk with their representations. But there's no urgency from either end, and we had a great run last year, came up short, and we want to continue that starting right tonight.
Talking with Don Waddell, Carolina Hurricanes GM, you mentioned we want to focus on today. How involved are you in the decision to 6 defensemen, 7 defensemen, 12 forwards, 11? Are you in that meeting room? What are we looking at?
Yeah, we talk about it too often, actually. But, again, when you have our team, when you start playing back-to-back games and that, it's hard to go with 11 forwards. But, we played tonight. We don't play again until Saturday. And it gives trust me, Aho, Necas, those guys love 11 forwards because they want to play more. The defense don't love it as much because they want to play more. So, it's a balancing act, and, it's also your opponent too. You look at who your opponent is and what kind of muscle you need there, sandpaper and that. And, I don't think we even know until all the guys are going to take warm-up tonight. We've talked about it 2 hours ago, and there's no decision being made yet, and take warm-up, and Rod will make the final call.
You use the term sandpaper. Our producer Dennis here, he's used sandpaper to describe Michael Bunting more than a few times. How much of that element of his personality and his attitude was why you brought him in, again, as one of those few tweaks?
Well, he's one of those guys that does both. He puts up numbers, and he also plays on the edge. Fighting is gone from the game. There's very little fighting. But you also, he's playing with Aho and Jarvis. Those guys, they're not afraid by any means. But I don't want them to have to battle every battle that they get into. So a guy like Michael, can assist in that way. But also, it's important to score goals, and he also brings the offense that he has in the past.
Don Waddell, Carolina Hurricanes GM, connecting with us live here outside PNC Arena on opening night as the Canes get ready to host Ottawa later tonight. You brought up the 11 forwards, and the forwards love it because they want to be on the ice. How difficult was it for Svech not to be out there for opening night?
He's worked so hard. He's been in town since he only left for a couple of weeks, but really training since July 1st. Preparing for this day. And if you ask me and Rowdy myself, we would say, boy, he looks great in practice. He still hasn't.
We've seen some videos.
Yeah,
he's skating really well.
Well, and remember, we do our testing with our players. He was our #1 fitness player in training camp. But this decision is not made by Rod and I. It's made by the doctors. They measure your difference between one leg and the other leg, and we've done it in the past, and we know right where the range should be, and he's still probably 5 to 6% under where the doctors like him to be. So October 11th is important, but we play 82 games, and if he has to miss a few games here or there to be ready to play the second half or the whole rest of the year in the playoffs, that's much more important to us.
Was there any temptation to look at the other guys and say, he just became our most fit player on the fitness test and he's out there on one leg? What's going on with the rest of you?
Well, the one thing I can say, our guys are great fitness, because this Andre was #1. Second was Burns, which is amazing because he might be whatever he is, 39 years old, but he acts like a 21-year-old and works out like a 21-year-old. In fact, the last exhibition game he was here, he played 18 minutes, and he was riding the bike after the game. I said, "You're going to have to ride this bike for a long time." He said, "Yeah, I know. I might have to be here all night." Those guys just want to play. But, the fitness of our team, Bill Bernstein, our strength coach, does a great job. But, let's face it, Rod is the example. And,
you can't be in worse shape than the coach.
No, there's no, you're not, if you come in here, not ready for training camp, you have no chance. Used to be athletes would take, the summer off, skate for maybe a month before. Now, players take 2-3 weeks off, which we really suggest take some time off because it's just so hard on your body. But when you get ready to go back at it, you better make sure when first day of training camp, you're ready to go.
Don Waddell, Carolina Hurricanes GM, joining us here on The Drive with Tim Donnelly. Some of the biggest news of the offseason was a big old fat stack of money going to Sebastian Aho. Now that the ink is dried and everything, we can ask you honestly, right? He was never going anywhere. You were never going to let him slip away.
No, not at all. And we had great talks with his representation throughout. It probably took a little longer than people wanted to take, but it's negotiations. And we knew from day one. I mean, when he left here, I met with him before he left here, and he said, Don, I don't want to be anyplace else. This is where I want to be. And that's the way every conversation was. And it's just a matter of coming up with the AAV and the structure and getting all that together. And at the end of the day, he's going to make a lot of money, but we're happy to pay him a lot of money.
What's the next step for Aho? When you look at the deal, when you look at the production that he's had, how does he take the next step to that ultra rare upper level?
Yeah, and he can't do it by himself. He needs support from his line mates, of course. I know one thing: if Aho ended up this year with 2 goals and 4 assists, and we won a Stanley Cup, he'd be the happiest guy in the room because he wants to win.
We have some predictions that would be mighty wrong if that happens. So he could go ahead and get more than that. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no. So, to me, he's an elite player. He's not in maybe the top guys that we know around the league, but he does it all. Kills penalties, power play, but as good as he is offensively, he's just as good defensively too. So he's a very responsible player. You see him on the ice in the last minute of the game, whether we're winning or losing by a goal, he's always out there. That just shows you how much we believe in him.
And also the element, right? You mentioned when he was heading out for the off season, he said, like, listen, Don, I don't want to be anywhere else. Looking at where kind of this build started with you and Brind'Amour, I remember kind of last year it started to become people want to come to the Canes, right? Guys that want to win are now looking at Carolina and telling their agent, hey, why don't I end up there? How great does it feel to have come that far where someone like Aho is saying, I don't want to play anywhere else. I just want to play here compared to where it was when you took over.
Yeah, no, before we were begging guys to talk to us, let alone have to overpay them.
There's a long journey there from that to where we are.
When you go 5 years, making the playoffs, 3 years we won our division, and the core of our team is still what we consider a young age, and that's nothing against Burns, Stahl, and a couple of the older guys. Everybody believes we have a chance to win, and players are going to chase money. Money's obviously, but the second most important thing is they want to win. And so as long as we're competitive in the financial side of things, we're going to be able to keep the players we want to keep and attract other players to fill out other holes.
An interesting bit of front officing you were able to do. Kochetkov with Syracuse in the Tampa system. Some of the reporting is that you had multiple options and there were a bunch of deals there. How do you decide where he goes and what's the plan for Kochetkov?
Well, when Vasilevsky went down in Tampa, their young guy that they were counting on to be their number 1 guy in Syracuse is now up in Tampa. So the biggest thing for us is he just has to play. To sit around here and have 3 goalies, limited practice once the season starts because we travel so much in that. We also know that the history shows that we're probably going to use 3 goalies at some point this year.
Last year, pretty early.
Yeah. So, we need him to play, and we need him to play in the best situation. Syracuse, Tampa does a great job with their farm team. They're always a very competitive team, and we know he's going to be the number 1 guy there and get as many starts as be able to him. Most teams, if you go to another team organization, they're always grooming their next guy, and he might not get as much playing time in this situation. And Julian, the GM in Tampa, is a very good friend of mine, and we talked about it, and we got that deal done in about 10 minutes, so I was happy for that.
What about Unger Soren, another guy that turned a lot of heads in camp? I was at a morning skate, and when he's skating around there, he's a big dude, and then you see his face, and you're like, oh, he's 18 years old, which is exactly what he is. But obviously didn't end up making a very difficult to make opening day roster. What's your opinion on him? How has it changed over the last 2 months?
Whenever you draft players, you're always wondering, how they're going to be 3 or 4 years from now. Well, we got a quick look at him early on here. He played 4 exhibition games. It certainly didn't look out of place. Truthfully, he could play here right now, but it wouldn't be the best thing for his development. He's 175 pounds. He might look big out there, but he's pretty skinny. Mm-hmm. He needs to put on some weight and size. And again, to be 12th, 13th forward right now, that's not good for his development. An 18-year-old player, let him go play for a year. We'll see where he is next summer. And if he's ready to join our team, certainly we'd love to have him on our team.
Don Waddell, Carolina Hurricanes GM, opening night. I know you have a lot to get to, so I'll ask one more here. I'm sure you hear the expectations, right? In our business, normally when, hey, we cover a team, we do this, we do that, they hit us with, oh, is the team going to be good this year? This year the question has changed to, are they going to win the Stanley Cup this year? So do you get that? Like, is it Stanley Cup or bust? You've been building to this. It's been, for the last 4 years, first round, second round, conference championship. Like, there's a logical line I can draw this year to the Stanley Cup.
Obviously that's our ultimate goal. When I took over, Rod and I took over, it was making the playoffs. We don't even talk about that anymore. You still got to get there, of course. But, a lot of things can happen during the season. A lot of things can happen in the playoffs with injuries and so forth. So it's not to say that if that's Stanley Cup or bust, 100% our goal is to win the Stanley Cup and be there in June. We just, again, you can't manage everything. Some things are out of your control, but we feel good. Going into camp here, starting tonight here, we feel pretty good about our hockey team.
I fibbed a little bit. That was last hockey question. Now I have to ask about pretty much right where we're sitting, right? The PNC renovations. What are you most excited for when you look at all of I'm sure, the renderings and the blueprints that are being passed through your office? I
spent 3 hours on it this morning. On
game day.
On game day. That's the business part of my job. The roster's done. I couldn't do any more today. But, first inside the arena, the renovations, it's all going to be for our great fans and customers coming to the arena for not only our games and NC State and all the concerts. So, we're going to put over $300 million within the building. And then on the outside here, this is all development. We're talking about, doing a music festival, music venue, 5,000 seat indoor music venue.
Was that a slip? Are we building a festival?
No, not a festival. Okay. Maybe a Major League Baseball team, but that's a different conversation.
Ooh.
That's a different
all right,
conversation.
I've got one more question. I lied again. I've got one more question. If you're going to bring up the MLB coming to this area potentially, kind of give us your take and what might be happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, we had some meetings yesterday actually about it. There's a lot of work that's got to go in just to see if we can support it. Major League Baseball obviously is looking at expansion. There's no secret about that. Raleigh is one of the cities, possibly Nashville, which I think we could easily win over.
I like it.
But and the good thing is the state really wants it. And first of all, you're going to spend probably $2.5 billion on an expansion franchise. You're going to have support from the government to build the building. You're probably talking $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion for a building. You got to pick a site, everything else. So a lot of work got to get into it. But the one thing I do know, when Tom Dundon says he wants to do something, he's going to put.
He looks at people like you to get it done. I know
he's going to put his
goes.
best foot forward. He's excited about it. That's. That's the encouraging thing for us and for obviously this community. And I just know the way Tom operates. If anybody can do it, Tom can do it. It's just a matter, a lot of steps to go through, and the process will be long, and we'll see what the outcome is.
And then 25, 26 years into the future, you'll have one championship. You'll be looking to bring in another, right? That's how it works when a new franchise comes to this area.
Yeah, no doubt. Winning, and that's what it's funny because yesterday meeting, they said, well, expansion teams usually don't win for quite a few years, and Tom's like, no, we're going to win right away. That's just the way his mindset. And we all know, we used to be a budget team. We're not a budget team. We're a cap team. The NHL tells us how much money we can spend, and that's what we spend. So, I think baseball would be the same way for Tom.
That's good to hear. Right there, that's lovely to a fan base's ears. Don, we appreciate you for stopping out. Hopefully we're able to catch up again once the season gets underway.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be with you.